Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark here at ABC 10, and here we go again. Now, there's just something about these late summer heat waves that can just get to you because, when it's early in the season, maybe you're looking forward to it. Maybe you're a fan of the dry heat, long summer days, but once you start getting toward the end, it really is time to turn the page and move on to something else. But we're not there yet. We will be by the weekend, and certainly next week is going to be great in Northern California. But we're not there. So this late summer heat wave is going to be a big deal. That's why we're calling it a weather impact alert day. In fact, it's going to be like that for the next 3 days. In the background, there's a increasing fire risk, so that's also a concern. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to let you know why this is so annoying to go through again. We just got through the meteorological summer period, which is June, July, all the way to the end of August. We keep those calendar dates because it's much easier to compare records apples to apples. If we went with the astronomical way of gauging when summer begins and when fall begins and some of those dates, then what you start to do is it moves around a little bit because the beginning of summer, for example, could be June 20th, 21st, or 22nd, kind of depending on how that goes. So again, this is just for record keeping for June, July, and August. It was the warmest summer for the downtown Sacramento location. That's when you take the high and the low and you average it. 80 degrees, that is way up there. The second hottest July temperature we've ever seen in the month, it was 113. And last month it happened, back in July, it happened twice. The third hottest all-time high, 113 degrees. We've only seen 114 and 116. So that is incredible. Those are the hottest temperatures ever recorded in Sacramento. The all-time warmest month when you average up all the temperatures. And then this, to me, is remarkable. There were 37 days, 100 degrees or hotter, and the old record was 36. Again, that's for June, July, and August. So when you add up all of this and everything in between, it was ridiculous. So now we're going back to the heat. Now, high pressure is going to be set up right off the coast, and what's interesting to note is that this is not just a Northern California thing. This is a West Coast heat wave that's going to last for a little while. So it's going to be hot and dry the rest of this week. Then when we split it up into the various watches, warnings, and advisories, you can see again from Washington all the way to Arizona, many people, millions of people will be dealing with roughly the same thing. Some places are going to be worse than Northern California. For example, for Southern California, the temperature ranges between 105 to 110 plus in some locations. That's why it's an excessive heat warning. You get over to our friends in Arizona, which have literally had 100 days in a row of triple-digit temperatures. The old record was 76. So they are extending that, and not only that, it's going to be near 110 degrees for the rest of this week for them. You get to Portland, it's going to be close to 100 the next 3 days. You get the idea. So comparatively, Northern California is not going to be as bad, but we still do have a heat advisory. This is almost close to the top level warning from the National Weather Service for heat and how you should be prepared for your health and others. Now, temperatures, for example, in places like Sacramento will hit 100 degrees by about 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then by about 5, we start to see the temperatures come down. What's interesting to note about these days in late summer is that they're different. For example, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to see the temperatures drop by about 10 degrees. A little bit courtesy of the wind, but what is really important to note is that these late summer heat waves, they're just different, and I'll show you why in just a second. Again, pick a spot where you're going to spend your day. You're looking at basically 100 or hotter, 90s for the foothills. We've got 84 in Oakland, 103 for Vacaville, and early mornings have been coming up as well. Early mornings have been moving into the 60s, and that's where we're going to stay for the rest of this week. Now, again, what's different about these late summer heat waves is that the air is very dry and you tend to see big temperature swings from the cool mornings to the hot afternoons. So it can be kind of confusing how much you can warm up and how much you can cool down overnight. What's helpful is that this time of year, there's a lower sun angle. That may not seem like a big deal, but if the sun is hitting you less directly, it has less of an impact on you. So you feel less hot. And then also, as the day moves along, it tends to go behind a lot more trees. You get a lot more, at least partial shade late in the day. And there's also just less hot hours. The sun now is going down before 7:30 at night. It gets completely dark before 8 p.m. now. So even though you hit the numbers that I just showed you, there is going to be less time where you're at that peak heat. You're reducing the amount of day, you're reducing the amount of time you have to just deal with the heat. Finally, we will be getting courtesy of a local phenomenon here we all know as the Delta breeze. This is an onshore cooling wind. It helps out some spots more than others. It helps to speed up the cooling down process. Something to look forward to after a long hot day. And we'll at least get a version of that over the next several evenings. So again, weather impact alert days, because they rise to the level that it's really important to pay attention so you're not caught off guard. Way above average, but not quite record-breaking. That's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The weekend weather does get better as we drift back into the 90s. We'll take it. And then next week, finally going back to the 80s, and we should stay there for most of the week.